So welcome everyone. I know there's still some people that are going to be coming in, but I think we can slowly but surely get going. I think there are a lot of there's a lot of ground to cover today, a lot of interesting stories to hear, and yeah. So a little bit about today's agenda. We've all gathered here today to discuss a little bit the incubator corporation partnerships and to learn some success stories. We're going to start off just by a little bit of a brief intro with UBI Global and what we do. And then, of course, we're going to get down to why everyone is here, is really to hear from two excellent success stories and two excellent incubators. So we have Eric from HighTechXL and we have Eamonn from GEC. They are definitely one of the strongest incubators in our benchmark and also in our rankings, and we're very, very happy that that they've found the time today to share with you some of their success stories and how they big companies and corporations. We will then have time in the end to take some questions as well. So please feel free to write down your questions in the chat, and we will take all of those questions towards the end. Now, why we're here, and I would like to take the time to talk a little bit about UBI Global, just in one sentence. So what we do, and what obviously a lot of you guys know that we're doing, is that we help business incubators and accelerators become more competitive and efficient through the world's most extensive benchmark. And this year particularly, we decided to focus a little bit more also on the corporate angle and to see how we can connect some of the corporations out there and some of the big companies to some of the best incubators in the world. And therefore we decided to really highlight two of the incubators that we think have really amazing partnerships and have the opportunity for them to share their success stories and best practices. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the stage to Eric, the COO and Program Director of HighTechXL.
Hello to you all. Very nice to be able to talk to you. From HighTechXL, we're a business accelerator in the city of Eindhoven in the Netherlands. We started this endeavor 3 years ago and started our first program running 2 years ago. And we do that in Eindhoven. And let me explain you just a bit about what Eindhoven is as a city. Eindhoven is not that large. Eindhoven is just over 200,000 inhabitants. But the density of businesses in the technology sector in our city is immense. It's so large that if you look at the complete portfolio of R&D spending in the Netherlands, about 50% of that is actually spent in Eindhoven and just around our city. So it's really the technology city of our country, and that also gives us a great ecosystem for startups to accelerate their business as well. So having said that, it's nice that I say that this is a great ecosystem, but of course it's even better when some other people say it. So on the next slide you actually see that Eindhoven is recognized by Forbes as the most inventive city in the world. Now, how do they come to that conclusion? Basically, what I've been doing is looking at the amount of patents originated in any kind of city in the world. And actually, per capita in Eindhoven, that's the highest in the world. San Diego is number 2 in that ranking. And I think the amount of patents in Eindhoven is 2.5 times San Diego's amount. So we have many engineers in our city. We have many technology businesses in our city, which also makes it a great city to invest in because there's so many large corporations for more, growth kind of investment, but also many startups in our area. And Having said that, it also shows great potential. Now, people say a lot, the next Silicon Valley will be here, there, or wherever. Now, it's not really our ambition to be Silicon Valley, because we're our own makers of our own destiny. So somebody should be saying we want to be the next Eindhoven in some time, and then we would be doing great. So having said that, internationally recognized, we have many businesses around us in our city. But the highest density of that is on the high-tech campus in Eindhoven. On the high-tech campus, there's about 10,000 people working with a business or engineering background closely together in 140 companies. So literally walking distance, we're able to meet all these people. Also connect them to our program if we like, and connect them more importantly to our startups. What you can see is just a flavor of the kind of companies that are on our campus. First of all, that's the Technical University in Eindhoven. You have Smart Robotics, the startup in robotics. NXP Semiconductors just took over Freescale from the US. The old Motorola semiconductor division is on site. Intel is on our site as well. Intel took over a startup, Silicon Hives, and what they did is basically after taking over Silicon Hives, they concluded, well, this ecosystem here is so great, we're not going to move this company. We're actually going to expand our activities in Eindhoven. The whole center is a knowledge institute. There's a couple of more companies that are from also the service environments, like Accenture, for instance, or KPN, who is providing data center services, and some more internationals like Medtronic and ABB, both also being on this campus because they took over startups. Finally, we have giants like IBM, well known by everybody, but even more to our heart is ASML. ASML is a huge company, 85% in lithography, which means that any kind of phone or computer that you buy will be manufactured on ASML toolings, and because they are so good, they've been able to outcompete everybody in Silicon Valley. So there's no competition in Silicon Valley for ASML anymore. Just in Japan, some people are still trying to catch up with them. Now, in the midst of all that, we are here with HighTechXL. We're a business accelerator that works closely with companies who are about to go to market, which means that they have developed that technology to the extent that it can be demonstrated. So if you just have an idea, we can help as well with developing that idea, but our real value kicks in when that idea is so far that it can be shown to customers, to potential customers, and that the business can be developed. We use the principles that most of you will know with Lean Startup, business model canvas we use, and the most important part of it is that the companies that we have in our program are actually close enough to market to be launched. That's very important because in high technology development, it sometimes can actually take 5 or even 10 years to get to that point. I'd just like to share with you our UBI insights. So first of all, we're very glad that we received the World High Impact incubation program together with 4 others. So very happy to see us being present globally. And the most important part that stands out in our ratings is the value for clients. As you can see, the value for clients can be broken down in of course the elements that relate to the global average. Now the global average is in the 50s. We like to really benchmark ourselves against the global top average because that's of course the leaders in the world, the best 10%. Now if you compare our score of 83 to the 72 in that global average, you can clearly see that it's a standout performance that we're having. Now, and how do we actually get to that point? We get to that point by giving the value to our starting customers by having a very, very clear focus. So what we do in our selection process and in our application process to our program, we select high-tech startups and we select hardware startups. And the combination of both is even better. Do we do that? Are we not interested in a startup that's developing a next app? Well, we might be interested and we might actually be able to help, but we want not to be able to help like anybody else could be able to help. We want to help on an excellent way, on a global top level. And we're only capable of doing that when we use or when we focus on the kind of startups that are in our domain. And that's high tech and that's hardware. So all the startups in our program have one of these elements in their portfolio. And also when we talk to startups developing this advanced technology, what you see a lot is that they've been talking to other accelerators as well, and they didn't really feel that there was a connection there. Now, when they start to talk to us, they understand that we know what it means to bring hardware to market. And, patents are very important. Supply chain is very important. The whole process development, the product development goes slower than what you typically see in applications, for instance. That automatically means that the risks involved in that are also different. It also means that the financing that's needed is a lot higher. Typically, what you see in our kind of startups is that they need in seed money, so clearly way before they get to sales, €500,000 to €1 million or something like that, which is quite an amount of money. And that's needed because of the fact that if you want to validate your prototype, for instance, you need to make that prototype, and that's quite costly in many cases. Now, some of examples of the startups that work with us, for instance, people who make an industrial drone. So you need to think about a drone that will cost, I don't know, €100,000 or so, that companies can actually use to inspect their facilities. Now, that's really top grade kind of technology that's needed, and that really fits our program well. Another great example of a startup in our program is a data glove to work with virtual reality glasses. Again, there what you see is a clear hardware proposition. Of course, there's a lot of software challenges involved in that as well, but the combination makes it unique. And that's another example of the kind of company that fits our program very well. A third example is many medtech companies. So companies that can actually make devices, either large, like for instance, to use in an operating room to do surgery. So you can think about robots and things, but also sensors that can actually sense with patients that they have a certain condition very early, and because of that, measures can be taken. And because these sensors are always present, also in the home environment, this can really accelerate both the detection program as well as also the healing program. And last but not least, in our current program, we, for instance, now have a car startup there. So a startup that's actually wanting to design and build their own cars. So that's the kind of stuff we love. That's the kind of stuff we like, but also that's the kind of stuff that we can really give great help to. Now, just to focus a little bit on our program, we have a program that's 4 months. Typically, there's 10 startups in that program. We do it twice a year. It's completely international, so the program language is English. We discuss everything in English, and as well, our program team is very international. So, for instance, we have two team members from the US. We have a team member from Mexico. We have one from China, all across Europe. So it's really an international team. As said, we're on the high-tech campus. There's 140 companies around us. And then also leading up to how we run the program in practice, it's very much a network-driven program. So we really involve quite a few groups in our community to accelerate their businesses. The general setup of the program is like this. So this is the program we're currently running on site at the moment. It's very similar to what you see in other acceleration programs. The focus on hardware and advanced technology really makes a difference. It starts out, of course, with everybody settling in. Then we go into the business model canvassing, like many others do as well. And we of course go for the validation that's needed in the market. The heart of the program is actually to have the customer engagement. In many cases, for our businesses, that's also business to business customers that you will need to be looking at. So therefore, the use of our network is very essential in that one. You know, once it starts to really flow, when we find a beachhead with the startup, when we find the kind of launching customers that can actually make things happen, we start to focus on establishing the partnership, setting up the supply chain, looking for manufacturing partners, etc., 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 to basically underpin that once orders are booked, that they can actually be manufactured and shipped as well. Finally, because most of the startups in our program need quite a bit of money to actually do their market introduction, we focus at the end of our program on anything related to investment. So we write an investor memorandum in our program. So each startup has their own customized one that can be presented, and then finally we draw a lot of attention from partners in general, but also from investors during our Excel day, which is the final day of the program. It's just one day in the life of a startup, but it's the final day of the program, in which we present all startup propositions on stage, as well as the investment they are looking for. Plus, we also celebrate that we achieved a lot in only 4 months, and basically it's the biggest party in town as well. Now, it's a community-driven program. We were very, very happy to announce last week that we've established the Eindhoven Startup Alliance. So big companies in our city came together to form this alliance, so that jointly we can improve and expand the ecosystem and make it available for the startups that fit in our domain. So the Eindhoven Startup Alliance consists of institutes and companies, as mentioned in this slide. It's ASML, as said, a semiconductor tool supplier. Philips, a very well-known brand, currently focusing mostly on medical technologies. The NTS Group, that's a company that's manufacturing subsystems for very complex machinery. So those are the real hardware companies that we have in our ecosystem. But next to that, we have EY as a founding partner as well, and EY is very relevant. One of the big 4 companies. EY is really leading in also providing their services to startups. And jointly in our program, also some EY team members are always part of our program team. We basically look at all the financial elements of what it needs to build the business, as well as many general services with HVG, their sister law firm as well. Next one is ABN AMRO. ABN AMRO is the largest bank in the Netherlands. Again, financial player, very important. Very happy to have them as part of our alliance too. The high-tech campus, mentioned earlier, a very great place to be located at the center of that. The BOM is the regional development organization. They invest in companies in general, with an economic development agenda, as well as that they invest in startups as well. And then we have Brainport Development, also a development agency specifically for the city of Eindhoven and the larger region around Eindhoven. We also call Brainport. And finally, the city of Eindhoven too. So with that startup alliance, what we are able to do, for instance, in our validation, is all these companies can not only be, supporting in figuring out what to do with the startup, which approach to take, what strategy to take, but also they can be launching customers. And for that, of course, it's really great, because if you have a big company that like that as a launching customer, you get huge validation. That's one. And secondly, of course, in many cases, they can help with the engineering or setting up the supply chain as well. So this is a very, very vital element of our ecosystem. The next very important group in our ecosystem is the expat community. There's about 10,000 expats in Eindhoven, and what we do is we work a lot with the expat spouses community. Most expats actually come with a family, which means that quite a few of the spouses of expats are also highly educated and skilled professionals. Now, it's not always easy to find a job if you're in that position, because you might not be able to speak Dutch, for instance, which it doesn't help you in any kind of element that relates to. The slides are flipping. I'm not doing that. That relates to the job interviews, for instance. What we do, working with the Expat Spouses Initiative, is actually involve that community in having out our startups in the program, but also having an international network on site, which can really help with building the business internationally and globally. Next group in our program is students. So this year only we had 200 students involved in all sorts of hackathons that we do with them, as well as strategic assignments for startups. So we had 25 assignments for startups already this year, and of course internships play a huge role there as well. The win-win is there that the students learn a lot in the process, and of course the startups just get a lot of things done by the students as well. And last but not least, we have about 300 mentors connected to our program. So these are entrepreneurs as well as professionals, many cases very senior people that can help the startups, for instance, to help them out via a warm introduction to a potential customer, a very important part of our validation program again. And secondly, they also and they do that a lot, and that we call lead mentorship. They work with the startups intensively with a group of 4 or 5 around each startup, and then on a weekly basis they also coach them in their general business development. So these 4 categories of our ecosystem are hugely important because they really help the startups together with our program team to really kick ass and get things going and book successes. So we're very, very happy to be in the midst of that community, and that we are able with our program to connect the community to the startups and the other way around, which everybody involved always finds very, very inspiring. So to conclude, a couple of takeaways. What we really do is play to our strength. We're probably good at helping any kind of startup, but good in this world is not good enough. We are really excellent in high-tech hardware, so that's what we focus on. And with that, we are able to strive for global excellence, and that's what's needed. We don't expect that any kind of accelerator or incubator program will stay around for longer term, but we're in this for the long term, and we can only be there in this position if we excel globally. And finally, if you really establish a relevant relationship with the community you're in, you can really build win-win cooperation models, and most of that is actually without money exchanging hands, which is really a very, very good way, because with that low threshold, it's possible to to really have an ecosystem that's really good at open innovation. And last but not least, there's a lot of things that you can copy. Yeah, on the left side of the slide, that's all the hardware. In the end, everything that will be copied at some moment in time. Also, the approach to a program that can be copied in time. That's never a problem. What you cannot copy is on the right side, and that's the community, the people around us with their skill sets, both in engineering as well as business, as well as many other qualities that they have. So we're really proud to be part of that community, and we're really proud to help startups internationally to accelerate their business in Eindhoven. Thank you very much.
Great. That was a really very inspiring presentation, Eric. Thank you very much. Yes, everyone is clapping. Genevieve, Armand, and Oleg, we took down your questions, so we will definitely take them towards the end. But I would really like to hand over now to Eamonn Sayers, the Center Manager for GEC, who will share his best practices from GEC and how they operate. I think it'll be a very interesting comparison with the way HighTechXL do things in Eindhoven. So without further ado, Eamonn, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Nick. Hello there from very sunny Dublin and Ireland. So it's not true, it doesn't rain in Ireland every single day. We're very busy here today. We are heavily involved in the organisation of Future Scope, where we got the largest multinationals here in Ireland talking about the future of their industry, how their company is moving in a direction that will impact on their industry, and the learnings for early stage companies in that space. And just give you a flavor of some of the companies. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll keep a finger checked that you can. You might get to see a flavor of some of the companies who are speaking at this event today. So as you can see, quite a high level of companies. But anyway, you're not here to hear from those companies today. You're here about the work we do here in the GEC. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about the work that what Ireland does to attract startups to Ireland, but also how we help the overall Irish startup ecosystem. So the first thing in Ireland, it's people talk often about our low corporate rate tax, but what attracts companies to Ireland and significantly is our talent, our people, and our ability to help others, our educated workforce, and so the way the whole ecosystem then works together from the multinationals through the universities into the startup world. And just staying on the theme of our talent, just some of the figures: a third of our population is under 25, 40% of our population is a third level educated, 18% highest proportion of science and engineering graduates in the world. And then from a business point of view, we're recognized as one of the best places in the world to do business. And that's quite important, especially to us in the GEC, because we have a lot of overseas startups or overseas entrepreneurs who have decided to make Ireland their home for startups. There's heavily involvement at state level, just from a higher level point of view. We have three key organisations that help the entrepreneurship system in Ireland. There's the Science Foundation Ireland, who builds the Irish academic base. There's Enterprise Ireland, who supports Indigenous Irish companies, and we work very closely with them. And then there's the IDA Ireland, who support multinational companies in Ireland. And just giving you a brief overview of what they do. Science Foundation Ireland, they match multinationals with the universities, with the institutes of technology, and because it's quite important that we bring R&D multinationals to Ireland. To give a flavour of the work the IDA do, 175,000 people are employed directly in companies supported by the IDA. And you can just, the figures there, exporting 124.5 billion, paying 2.8 billion in corporate tax. So it's a significant player in the Irish tax makeup. And again, you can see some of the major brands there that are sitting in Dublin. And finally, Enterprise Ireland. Enterprise Ireland will be set up initially to help Irish companies to export abroad. And then with, I suppose, in the last 10, 15 years in the tech space, companies were much smaller who were looking towards a global market. And they're now working directly with early stage companies primarily through two competitive funds. One is called Competitive Start Fund, where they're willing to invest 50K in new startups. And they also have a higher fund called Higher Potential Startup, where they are willing to co-invest with in early stage companies with private investors. And they can invest upwards of €250,000 in these early stage companies. The key criteria to qualify is that you're an Irish company, that you will generate sales of over $1 million in the next 3 years, and you will also generate at least 10 jobs in the same period. So, and us in the Guinness Enterprise Centre, we work very closely with a lot of the Competitive Start Fund and the high potential startup companies. Also, Enterprise Ireland will help from a research perspective, working directly with universities, and the universities then will send out potential companies into incubators, into accelerators, into innovation centres, and they'll work quite closely arm in arm with Enterprise Ireland, who, as I stated earlier, support Indigenous Irish companies. So that gives you an overview, maybe from the top-down perspective. Just speaking now from I suppose, more into the ecosystem. So I work with Dublin Business Innovation Centre, and there are 5 business innovation centres across the island of Ireland. We're the ones in blue there. It's covering, we'll say, the northeast of the country of Ireland. So it's 4 business innovation centres in the Republic of Ireland. In simple terms, Dublin Business Innovation Centre, we'll get visibility in about 500 early stage companies each year. We'd work directly with 300 of those companies. We'd help very early stage entrepreneurs, help them develop their idea. We'd help with market strategy, help with business strategy, help companies become investor ready. Once you become investor ready, you help you with access to finance. We manage on a national level the Halo Business Angel Network, and these will be business angels willing to invest between 25,000 to 250,000. We also co-manage the AIB Seed Capital Fund, which is a €53 million seed fund, and then we also manage the Guinness Enterprise Centre, where this is where me and my team operate from. So just on the business angels, in the last few years, our business angels would have invested over 16 million in over 300 deals, and the deals worth over 150 million euros. So quite a significant player in the Irish market. The AIBC fund will invest a significantly higher amounts. They will invest between 100K earliest rounds, but subsequently up to 1.5 million. So it's the busiest seed fund in the country, and it's invested in over 40 deals, and it's currently closed for new investment, but it's currently working on add-on investment, and we were looking to start another seed fund late 2016, early 17. So we're moving on then to Guinness Enterprise Centre, and what we decided to do was just give a few pictures of what it looks like, and also talk about sort of the numbers before we start talking about our interaction with multinationals. So you can just briefly see, I won't pick out everything, just as we talk through. So we've over 90 resident companies in the GEC, and the companies can either have shared space or a resident space. With different sized offices ranging from 1 person to 30 person offices. The average stay for a company in the Guinness Enterprise Centre is just under 3 years, and we have a 30% turnover of clients year on year. The key thing is the clients pay for the GEC, so it's completely paid for from an operational point of view by the companies in the GEC. We run regular networking events, 12 formal, and then we also run a lot of ad hoc networking events, especially in the evening times. We've also opened up this new co-working facility where companies who are looking to land here from overseas initially will start co-working in the GEC, and then they'll roll out and become either a shared or private client. Other people who are in the co-working, or people who are working from home, working on a piece of tech, haven't quite got the revenue to start taking full-time space in the GEC, but by being part of the community, we assist them with their growth. We just thought we'd highlight some of the success stories in the last since just this year so far. Effective Software would have started in the GEC about 3 years ago in virtual office. They then moved into the GEC, two of them in a shared space. They grew into a 4-person private office, and they left the GEC with approximately, just 1 second, our slides are running away from us. They left the GEC with approximately 16 people. Zero Grey is a company that moved to Ireland from Italy. They started the GEC with 8 and just left recently with more than 40 people. Okay, so I had just spoken about the numbers in the GEC. We're home to over 90 resident companies, as we describe them, whether they're in a shared or a private office. And then we've also got over 80 in the new co-working space. And a lot of the companies that are coming from the co-working are coming from overseas, starting their company in Ireland as an overseas entrepreneur. We just spoke recently of some of the success stories. Clearsight Innovations was just recently bought out for over $10 million US, and the whole team were lifted lock, stock, and barrel to the United States, which has been fantastic from their point of view. I hope their American accents are going quite well. And then we've also had some companies that have moved here from the United States. Circle Financial, who actually spoke at today's Future Scope. This company is valued at over $200 million US. They started with a team of 2 in the GC and just recently graduated with a team with 12 people. Golf Graphics, just a company that would have moved into the GEC with 2. We would have helped them with their business model. We would have given them assistance by helping them become investor ready. Then we helped them with access to finance. They managed to get high potential startup with Enterprise Ireland and just closed a further round of funding for approximately 450K. So great stories of some of the companies in the GC. And sorry, HEC Paris, their MBA program was over visiting us recently, and they're working directly with some of our early stage companies that have specific projects and specific problems for their MBA teams to work on directly with. So it's the MBA program in HEC Paris, the number 2 MBA program in Europe. So we're delighted to be working quite closely with them. So some regular events, some big events already have attended in the GC already this year. One extremely excited about the Global Entrepreneur Network Ireland launch. This is the first time the Kaufman Foundation have really stepped outside the United States, and they've come to the GEC, and we'll be working quite closely with them and their US startups. So it's a very exciting project for us. We're also working on a mentorship program with the MBA Association of Ireland. And also we hosted the Global Student Entrepreneur Award Finals, the Ireland finals. And that was really exciting to meet students 16, 17 years of age and to watch the projects that they're working on. It was phenomenal. I'm going to shut up briefly for a few seconds and just have a few pictures of some of the events that have been happening in the GEC. So you can get a flavour there of some of the events and also a bit of the layout of the GEC. We've also had some significant visiting delegations. As I spoke about HEC Paris, the city of Dublin is a sister city with San Jose in the United States, and they brought over some of their councillors, and we placed some of our startups in front of their councillors, and in 2 weeks' time, one of our startups is going over to San Jose, and it looks like they're going to be closing a very significant deal to work on a trial basis for the next 3 years with that city, and already other cities have already approached this company to work quite closely with them. I'm recently only back from Russia on the strength of a delegation from Tatarstan that visited us in the GEC, and they're looking for us to help Russian startups to potentially look at Ireland as a starting venue and to grow their businesses from there. And from Ireland, that they'd sell into the US market and also sell into the European market. And again, just gives you a flavour of some of the people we've met very, very recently. I hate pictures being taken of myself, so that's why there's so few pictures, but that's by the by. But the GC, it's very community focused, and I would echo what Eric said. You can't copy it. It's very, very hard to build that culture. Our clients have regular meetings together. The entrepreneurs meet as individuals, talking about the problems you have as an entrepreneur. We have specific technology meetups where the CTOs meet directly with each other. And then at the end of the month, we have sales and marketing teams meeting up. And what they all do is they tell each other's, they share their war stories, they share their problems, they look for others for solutions, and that works exceedingly well. So it's a bit of a hands-off approach, but then if we feel that they're not getting the results they needed from this internal community, then we bring it out to our wider network, be it introducing them to multinationals directly, or introducing them to universities, or finding somebody who can help them solve the problems that they're working on. We've got our annual summer barbecue on the 10th of June. If any of you are over in Ireland, I'll extend an invite out to all of you. We'll have maybe 250, 300 people participating, and again, we'll have some of the significant multinationals coming along to be part of our community, because that's what it is. They're part of our community. They just don't drift in and out. They're very much open and welcome visitors to the GEC. And again, it gives you another flavor of some of the events we've run there. That's me getting, or some of my team getting water thrown over them on the bottom right. So we were asked specifically to speak about some of the partnerships that we work with some of the large multinationals. So just to give you a flavor of some of the projects, I'll speak about some of and these would have happened in the last, in the very most recent past. So FutureScope is the event we're attending today. If you want to have a look at the website, futurescope.ie. This is our third year running this program. Now, the very first year it was called Silicon Stroll, and what we did was we invited 70 of Europe's top angel investors and 50 of Europe's top startups to Dublin for 2 days. And the first day they spent in Google, IBM, and PayPal, and they learned insights from those multinationals about how they conduct their business. And then on the Tuesday of the event, they pitched. There was a pitch battle, a pitched war. It was actually won by a Spanish company that took away the spoils. But I think my understanding is about 65% of the companies who participated got funding from the angels who attended those 2 days. The Bridge program is a program we run with the animation and gaming space. And what we're doing is we're helping students to work directly with the likes of Brown Bag Films, with the likes of Jam Media, Riot Games, etc., because they're finding it very difficult to gain employment because they don't have any work experience. So over a 3-month period, we source specific projects from the top gaming and animation studios in Dublin. The students then work together on teams directly on these projects, and at the end of it, they're either offered employment or they look at each other and say, wow, we work together as a team on real projects. So now sorry, there's a few people after walking in, so I might have to just move around here slightly. So then people can actually work directly and potentially would maybe start their own studio. We've had Microsoft and YouTube recent visitors on a morning time where the YouTube and Microsoft would explain how you can use their platform. And then also we got startups to describe how they're using the YouTube platform, how they're using Microsoft to improve their business skills. FoodWorks, we have a few companies in the food space, and the FoodWorks program is run with the Express. I better just start again. In the food space in Ireland, because Ireland is an island, it's relatively easy. Now, and I use the term relatively easy in big inverted commas, to generate sales of 500,000. But for a food company in the startup space in Ireland, you have to start generating revenue in around the 5 million mark. And the idea of this program is to target these companies who the Irish Food Board, the Irish Agricultural Ingredients Organisation, Teagasc, tend to grow. So that's a program that we run directly in the GEC. We've also just recently hosted the Accenture FinTech program, where over 100 companies, startups applied to get on the program. There was a pitch battle then with 20 of the startups, and then 6 startups were chosen for a really in-depth 10-week program where it's basically an accelerator using Accenture, using the top financial services companies here in Ireland to give back to the community, trying to build these companies in the financial services space. And all this is done with a very, very small team. So I manage the center, but I have a superb team around me, and I couldn't talk about at this webinar without actually giving due credit to Linda, to Lisa, to Vicky, and superb work, and I'm eternally grateful for them. So I'm looking forward to hearing your questions, and thank you. And back to you, Nick.
Thank you very much for these insights. Eamonn, I think it was really, really interesting. So let's have a look at some of the questions. Wow, now all of a sudden we got tons and tons of questions. Let's start with one of the first questions that was asked towards Eric, but I think we can ask both of you guys. So there was a question about whether HighTechXL is a for-profit or non-profit accelerator. So Eric, for-profit or non-profit?
I think Eamonn is walking into a bar or something.
Yes, Eamonn seems to be walking into a bar.
A lot of background noise all of a sudden. Yes, we are a for-profit organization. So it's a private initiative, which also gets public funding to match part of the private funding that we get.
Mm-hmm. And then the same question to you, Eamonn.
Yeah, we're a not-for-profit center. Even though the name Guinness is attached to us, it's the building was given to us by Guinness, and we're paying them a nominal fee, but the companies in the GEC pay for the GEC.
Mm-hmm. All right. We also had a question, which I thought was very interesting. We might not be able to cover all of the questions that are being asked, but we will afterwards send them to you guys, to Eric, to Eamonn. We will send you those questions so that you can write down your answers, and we will share those as well. But something that I thought was very interesting, and again, I would like to ask both of you, was how do you measure your startups? So, say for example, some of your startups are underperforming. So how do you measure their performance, and how do you then intervene in case one of your startups isn't?
Yeah, so in our program, we basically monitor progress on all the major elements on a week-by-week basis. So we can see how much progress is made each week. What we know, because we use this approach in earlier programs as well, is that the good or great startups can follow that timing of our program. So we now have a benchmark that we know that good startups can actually meet, and therefore we also know when people start to fall behind. And then the first intervention is to help. Basically get more people in to find out what's going on and to see to it that they get back on track. Now, if for some reason that doesn't work, or especially when the startups start to give up on themselves, basically then we can actually say, this is not really working. It's starting to hamper the other startups in the environment. It's draining too much resources. We either turn this around within a week or so, or actually you should be leaving the program.
Okay, and what about you, Eamonn?
So, in simply, we're an enterprise center, and we always believe when you consider the word enterprise, it means somebody is buying your product. So the first thing we do is, have you got a customer? That's our very first factor of success, and then it's a case of more customers, more customers, more customers. They're the people who tell you whether you're going to have a business that's going to succeed or not. So, and that's the significant factor. And obviously, if it's B2C or B2B, obviously we'd have different ways of measuring this, but it's looking at customers. Have you got customers? And then if we feel a company is beginning to plateau, we'll intervene. We'll try and place mentors with the company that we feel can help generate further momentum, or alternatively, if we feel they're lacking skills, then we may intervene and either introduce the skills to the person, to the entrepreneur, or we might try and see if we can get other people to do the project work for them. It's so important that, the entrepreneur, it's their company. So all we can do is keep on leading them to water, keep pointing out where the better water is, but it's up to them to drink.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And we actually have one question from our own CEO asked me to ask you guys this question, kind of coming a little bit back to the topic of incubator corporate partnerships. So if I was, for instance, a company, or if I was an incubator manager, obviously we've seen here some great examples of how you guys work with corporates. But say, for instance, I'm an inexperienced incubator manager, or I'm a corporate that does not really work so much with incubators. What would you recommend? Pretty much in 30 seconds. What would each of you recommend would be the first step? Who should approach who? How should that partnership be established? So the first partnership between these two parties.
Now, if you're a corporation and you really are looking to connect to the startup environment, I think you should connect to a center or a program or an incubator that has more startups. Visit them and try to see to it that you actually become part of that somehow, so that you live it on a day-to-day basis, and then you really start to understand what it's about, what it means to actually get at customers, to nail the deal, to manage the team, to not give up, and everything related to that. So to be part of that takes a lot more than just an hour presentation or something. You need to be in the midst of it to really understand it.
Great. And Eamonn, any advice for center managers or for companies that want to connect to a particular center?
Well, from our side, we would always invite somebody from the corporate world to visit the GC. That's the very first thing that they would see our community in action. They'd get the energy, they'd get the buzz, and immediately they'd start seeing what innovation means. They won't see what innovation means by staying in what we describe it as the mothership. So yes, first thing we do is we invite them to the center. And after that, then it depends really on what their own specific needs are. Sometimes they're quite happy just to work directly with the startups, but others are looking towards creating innovation in-house. And we're working on programs with two. Unfortunately, I can't announce them yet, which you'll probably hear two from the 1st of July onwards. Two multinationals that we're working directly with and helping them with their in-house innovation. And in simple terms, what that means is they'll be placing small teams in our environment, in our community, and they'll be working on innovation in their industry with the innovation going back into the bigger company.
Great.
Yeah, we do that as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'd just like to wrap up by also giving a little bit of insights into how we at UBI Global are working with corporations, and how we want to connect corporations a little bit more to the incubation ecosystem. And one of the biggest steps that we're going to take within the next month, actually, is going to be our summit that we will hold called the Future Talent Summit. It is in partnership with Universum and Semen Money. A very interesting event, a by invitation only for the top performance incubators and accelerators from our network. And we believe that this is going to be a very first step also for UBI Global to share our knowledge, not only across the incubation ecosystem, but also really allow corporations and larger companies to step into our network as well. So with that being said, I felt this was a really exciting session. Again, we will share all of this information with everyone who has registered and participated. A very special thank you, of course, goes out to Eric and to Eamonn. You guys didn't disappoint. Very great session, and I think you proved here today that you really know your way around working with big corporates. So just keep up the good job, and we'll be seeing you all soon.